Okay, welcome to the video on the respiratory system. First of all, we're going to look at the aerobic aspect of respiration. So aerobic respiration, and all that means is that we are exercising and respiration is occurring in the presence of oxygen. So we've got oxygen present. I'm sure you're all aware that the symbol for oxygen is O2, so I'm just going to put that there. Now the equation that is used to show what occurs during aerobic respiration is this. So first of all, we take on glucose and we use that plus oxygen, and that is converted to, or becomes, energy, which is very useful for the body obviously, plus carbon dioxide plus water. Okay, aerobic respiration can only occur when we've got oxygen present, so we must be able to, or we must be taking in enough oxygen in order to convert that into, or convert this glucose into energy. Okay, so sorts of activities that we'd be performing to allow aerobic respiration to occur, we'd have to be exercising for a long time, long duration, and usually it's going to be low to medium intensity. Okay, so your examples might be running or team games. Okay, so you might be asked in the exam to describe the pathway of air, okay, or the flow of air down the respiratory system. So first we're going to start off with air entering the mouth. So we'll write that down. So it starts off, enters mouth. Number 2, it then travels down the mouth and past the pharynx. So we've got that written down already. So number 2, pharynx, and the pharynx is just our throat. Number 3, it then travels down our throat into our trachea, which is down here, okay, which is our windpipe. So number 3, trachea, windpipe. Okay, once it goes on from the windpipe, it then enters what are known as the bronchi or the bronchus. We've just got those here. Okay, so it splits off. So our windpipe comes down here, trachea splits off into 2 bronchi or bronchus. So I'm just going to put that. It enters the bronchi. It then goes into these smaller vessels in the lungs, which are like branches, okay, coming off of this main branch here. If we think of it as a tree, we've got these little branches here coming off, and they are just smaller versions of the bronchi, so they are known as bronchioles. Okay, after it goes to there, we're then gonna it's then going to travel to the alveoli, and this is this small bunch of grapes, if you like. It looks like a bunch of grapes at the end of the bronchioles. So it then goes to the alveoli, and now we've got a massive key point coming up here, because the alveoli is where the exchange of gases occurs, or gaseous exchange. And all that means is that the blood, when it enters the lungs, comes in and it picks up the oxygen. So blood takes oxygen and it releases or gives back to the lungs. It gives or gets rid of CO2 and waste products. Okay, so first we'll look at breathing in, also known as inhalation. Now what happens is, underneath the lungs here, we've got our diaphragm. Now the normal shape of the diaphragm, when it's relaxed, is a dome, like that. Okay, so it sits under here and it's a dome shape. Now what happens is, when we breathe in, that contracts and it flattens. Okay, just like that. So the first part is of breathing in or inhaling is diaphragm flattens, or we can say that it contracts. Okay, at the same time, these muscles here between the ribs, between each of the ribs, contract as well, and they are known as our intercostal muscles, and they're going to contract and pull the ribs out, which expands the chest. Oh, apologies. There's supposed to be an R there. They contract, intercostal muscles contract, which results in chest cavity expands. Okay, so our chest cavity is expanded because the ribs have been pulled out, because those muscles, those intercostal muscles, have become tighter and they've pulled the muscles outwards in that direction. And we've got a diaphragm here which is flattening underneath the lungs. That flattens, which opens up the chest cavity and allows more room. Now we should know from our science lessons that more room or less pressure, or more room equals less pressure, and because there's less pressure, that allows air enters our lungs. Okay, and that air is high in oxygen and low in carbon dioxide. Breathing out, on the other hand, it's just the reverse process. So what happens is the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles they both relax. Okay, and because they relax, our diaphragm is now our dome shape, so that squeezes the air up, and it also, because the intercostal muscles have relaxed, the ribs then return to their normal states, so going squeezing that air out. So our chest cavity is smaller, or reduces in size, which squeezes air out of the lungs, because the pressure has then increased inside the lungs, so that air wants to escape to somewhere where there's less pressure. I'm just going to finish off here with breathing rate, and we just need to know that breathing rate increases greatly when we exercise. So it can increase by up to 3 times our resting breathing rate. Increases up to 3 times our resting breathing rate when we exercise. It's pretty obvious that we need, or this is due to the increase in demand of oxygen.